How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm really excited to show you how to make the hinge that goes to your 270 awning. So in the other video, if you've already seen it, I made the whole awning, but I left out how I made this part. Well, now I'm going to show you how I made this, and I've also made a printable template that you can get from my website, overlandunderbudget.com, print it out for a couple bucks, and then you can cut out the template here and make your own awning. And cuts out kind of the thinking part, and you'll know where to put the arms, the holes for the arms of the awning, gives you the bracket pieces, and also a handy little shopping list you can take to the store and pick up all the bolts and all that kind of stuff you need. So hopefully you find that really helpful. If you want it, it's on my website. Link is in the description. So now we're going to get to cutting this out and actually making this piece right here. Hope you guys enjoy it. Along the outside edge, so you leave the whole black line, and then when you trace it onto the metal, you can trace along the outside edge and then cut through that line, and you should have a piece of metal that's basically the exact same size as this. But the really important part is where these holes are placed. So if you make a little mistake here or there, don't worry about it. It's not going to end the project, and just keep going. So let's get that now. Alright guys, let's go over the tools I'm going to be using today. Now you don't need to have all of this stuff, so if you don't get worried. You really only need to have some eye protection, something to protect your ears. You can use classic earplugs or a piece of tissue paper, but definitely protect your ears if you're working with these guys, and your eyes. You will need a drill. You don't need a fancy one like this. Just any drill will do. You only got to make 3 holes, or 3 holes, so not too big of a deal. I'm using a 1/4 inch bit and then the 5/16 bit to finish it off. You don't even have to have both. You just need to have a 5/16. Using the smaller bit first is easier on the drill bits and sometimes lets you cut through faster. So you need one of these guys. You do need a drill. You do not need to have a circular saw, although this makes it a lot easier and faster. You only need to have a angle grinder. Now, angle grinder with a cutoff wheel is one of the most useful metalworking tools and just garage shop tools you can have. Good thing is they are only about 50 bucks. This one was 50 bucks from Home Depot. The little blades are like $1 to $2 depending on where you buy them. So you can buy a stack of those, and yeah, that's all you really need to have. Now I do have 2 of them because I have one set up for sanding, one set up for cutting, but you don't need to have 2. And then lastly, I just have a classic construction skill saw with a Diablo metal cutting blade, and it's carbide and Surmont tipped, so it cuts through this 3/16 steel like no problem. I've actually cut 1/4 inch plate steel as well. It's pretty incredible. This blade is about 30 bucks. I got this given to me. It was an old construction saw. Sometimes you can find these garage sales. But yeah, all you really need, cut-off wheel and a drill bit, and protect your eyes and ears, and you're good to go. So I'm gonna start by laying out the template and get to cutting. It's a good practice to clean your metal before you cut it up. It makes cleaning it a lot better. You're not working with little parts, so just clean it all before you make a cut. And then the other little tip is, if you're laying out this to cut on a brand new square sheet, it's not as applicable, but these cuts are going to be the most difficult. So I might find a spot that lets me get in here with the saw to make these corner cuts the easiest, because I can go cut this off like I might do just like this, and then I can leave this flat edge. I can cut here across end, and I can cut in like that end, and then I can go straight down here, and then I can come in straight across, and I can go in here. So I don't know if that was confusing, but basically you wouldn't want this like here, because then you'd have to come in, and then you'd have to cut this whole long length to cut here, and then to get this angle you'd have to come all the way across here. So put this little technical end down at the corner like this, and then you can make those cuts really quick. Okay, I used a oil pastel because I can't find my Sharpie. It might have worked pretty good. I just went around the edge, and then when I pull this off, you can actually see the cut marks. I'm gonna cut through this blue line, so I don't know if I recommend this. Try using a Sharpie if you have. We'll set this aside, and then I'm gonna cut this out. All right, so let's see how we did. You can see already that I missed, I didn't cut this perfectly, so we're gonna match it up with here and see how much off we are. As long as the corner is in the corner, yeah. So, not the greatest cuts, but the main thing is that these holes, all three holes, get put in the right spot. So it looks like I kind of miscut this a little bit, but the real important things is this surface here is straight and where you place these holes. So I think I'm gonna run with this. What I'm gonna do is actually trace this now and cut another one exactly like this so that I have two matching pieces. Like I said, the most important part is that these holes are in the right spot so that the arms all line up. The overall shape, other than this being, making sure this is flat, doesn't matter as much. So don't get worried about it. We're gonna trace this and cut that. All right, well, you guys are gonna get a first-hand look at how it doesn't have to be perfect to work, because that was not another perfect cut. But here's what we're gonna do next is, like I said, the most important part is this, is where the holes are, and then just having a nice flat area here. As long as you get the general shape, you're gonna be good. So what I'm gonna do is tack weld both of these together. And once I do that, then we can drill through both at one time, get the holes aligned, and we can also shape the rest of this with a cutoff wheel or a sander. So let's do that next. I forgot, we need to cut this out too. This is the base of the plate that the wings go on, and you don't really need to use this, but this is 3 inches wide, which is important. You don't want it any wider than that, because then it won't fit very well in the bag. The length is kind of up to you. You could make it just as short as the bottom of the wing, but I like to make mine a little longer, because then it lets you back this out past your rack a little bit if you have like a curved rack like I do. And you can always cut it later. So just make it a little long, and then you get more options to where you want to drill through for your mounting holes. So keep that in mind when you're making yours. The most important part is how wide it is. Don't go any wider than the 3 inches unless you're going to do a custom bag. So let's mark this up and cut it out. Okay, probably not square, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work, and hopefully, you know what, by the time you're watching this, definitely not right away, but if this is in the future, I'm gonna have laser cut pieces available or something like that. So you could, if you don't have any of these tools, but you have someone who can weld it, or maybe I'll have them even welded by now too. then you don't have to go through cutting this and making it all perfect. But you know what, it's part of the fun, and for now, this is working pretty good. So we've got our 2 wings, we've got our base plate. Next step is tack these together, clean them up, get our holes drilled, and then we'll attach them here. So we're moving right along. All right, quick look at the welder I'm using. This is a Forney 220 MP. It's a MIG welder, and has gas shielding, which is really nice, makes your welds really clean. But you know what, if you can't, if you don't have a setup with gas, pretty much any welder is gonna work for you. Definitely don't put off getting a welder because they're so expensive. I have made like 5 times the cost of this welder doing little projects in just a few months. It's been one of the best tools I ever bought. And if you want to look at it that way, cheapest tool I've ever bought too, because I'm making money using it. I'm welding 3/16 steel. You guys, I am a beginner welder. So maybe you can help me out here if you are a welder. I'm probably gonna go set this at like 18 and maybe 18.3, somewhere around there. So if you guys are like, no way, don't use that setting, please comment below if you know a better setting for 3/16 steel. It's not perfect, but this should work pretty good. You know what, maybe get a little bit more power in there. Yeah, let me know what you think about those settings. But this is the basic welder I'm using. It's on a Harbor Freight cart that I added a little base to. It's got an 80 bottle, and yeah, we're gonna MIG weld this together right now. Okay, just to give you some hope if yours isn't turning out the way you want, look how badly I did at matching these two. I don't know if you can tell, but they are not exactly perfect. Look at that lip there. But I'm here to say, don't worry about it. We're gonna tack these together and clean them up, and they're gonna match. So let's see that now. Alright you guys, so tack together. Someone said hold your tacks a little longer and you're going to get better penetration, so I tried that out. Looks pretty good. Looks like I could probably use a little more heat, so I'm going to dial that up a little bit. Maybe there. Now that I've got it tacked together, I'm going to clean it up with a sanding disc on my angle grinder, so let's do that. As you know, these weren't matching up very well, but just a couple of minutes with the grinder and the sanding disc, and now they match perfectly. So the template is specifically cut so that it's easy to cut out of a sheet of metal, but I would highly recommend rounding all these corners except for the base here. That way it doesn't catch in the bag, tear anything, and it's just a lot nicer. So a couple of minutes, round all those edges, and now we're ready to mark out where we're gonna put the holes. We're gonna start with a small drill bit on all 3 of these and then finish up with the 5/16 drill bit. Okay, so quick tip, don't go as fast as you can with this drill. Go kind of at a slow speed and the blade is going to cut a lot better without heating up the bit and reducing how sharp it is. So just go slow and it's going to cut through a lot better. So yeah, they're selling.
That's so awesome.
Okay, so we've got our holes drilled all the way through in all 3 of them. While this is still tacked together, that way they all line up when we separate them. We started with a 3/16 bit, goes through really easy, and then we're gonna finish with the larger 5/16 bit. And that way it doesn't have to just cut out all that material at once. It'll just widen the edges and this will go through a lot quicker and also save you your bits too. They'll last longer. Nice. All right. Fully cut out, fully drilled. So nice. And look, it even started to separate when I was drilling it. So it's going to make popping this open a lot easier. On to the next step. So fully drilled out now. And we drilled them while it's tacked together. That way the holes line up perfectly. You don't have to worry about aligning those afterwards. So next step is going to be to cut these little tacks that we did on the end, 1, 2, and then we can get in there with a flathead screwdriver and pop these 2 plates apart, and then we're gonna tack it to our base plate. Check this out. This is really fun. Everything's all cut. Everything's all cleaned up. Looking good. I'm really happy how this one's turned out. I think this, this is a 3rd one I've made, and I think it's the best one. And maybe I feel that way about everything I make the more I make it. But if you remember, it wasn't coming out so good when we first cut out a template. So don't get discouraged. You can always clean it up. You can always adjust it with the sander. And as long as you don't get too close to this hole here, for your awning arm to go on, you're going to be fine. So all these look really good. Let's get the base plate, clean that up, and then we can tack this together. Okay guys, we've got this all cleaned up. This is our base plate. We've got our wings ready to attach. They're going to go like this. Now before we weld this together, both of these base plate and the wings are flat on the bottom. They should be, because you cut them with the saw, right? Well, we want to actually cut or use the grinder and just add a little bevel like this to this edge and then also to this edge. And what that's going to do is create a little trough like this, a little area for the weld to go into, and you're going to get a way better weld, a much stronger weld, and a much cleaner looking weld if you do that beveling. So I'm going to add that profile to both of these pieces, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Here is another tool that I think is a must-have if you're getting into metal fab. These are available at Harbor Freight. I think they're only $3, maybe even $3, $6 for 2 or something like that. But they are magnetic squares, so you can tack stuff together with this. Check this out. So we've got our hinge here. We're gonna go like this and like that. We're gonna take our beveled edges so they're both out, and boom. All we gotta do is adjust where it's sitting, push this back, there you go. Now it's being held in place right there, and you cooperate. Now you can see why we cut that bevel in there. Hopefully you can. I don't know if the GoPro's showing that very well, but the bevel is going to create a little area for the weld to go right into. So we're going to go ahead and put a weld right there. Okay guys, we're basically done with our hinge. All we have to do is do the full weld on the inside, on the outside over here. And I just wanted to say, keep in mind when you weld, whatever side you're welding, say like if I just did a full weld down this piece is going to want to lift up, and that's because as the weld cools, it contracts. So keep in mind you're going to have some movement here, unless you do like what I did was do tacks. You can do tacks on the inside and you will get less movement. But before you weld the inside, if you want to do stitches on the inside, put something in there to keep it from bending too much, like that, and that'll help out. So yeah, but look, we're almost done. All right, you guys, nice and welded up there. Welds don't look terrible. You can tell this is opening up. You can see some good heat penetration. Could be a little better. Welding settings right there, 19.5, 19.8, or 198. Let me know if you think there'd be how I should adjust that a little better. Definitely getting good penetration, getting a little bit of a splatter. Like I said, I'm a new welder, so let me know if you have some advice on that. But pretty happy with that. So clean that up a little bit and I'm pretty much good to go. Maybe do a little welding in the inside there. Okay guys, still really hot. Just welded this. We're gonna brush that. Doesn't look too bad. Could have been a little more artful for sure. But hey, that's the cool thing about MIG welding. As long as you got enough heat in there and you don't have porosity in your welds, it is crazy strong. So you guys, all we gotta do is clean this up and we are basically done with this section. So I think it turned out great. Let's clean it up. Alright, we are finished with the hinge, other than painting and mounting it and putting our holes in to mount to the rack, which is going to be individual to your own system. But as far as putting the hinge together, we are all done. Now, I didn't weld all the way through on the inside. I skipped right here where this awning arm is going to go, and that's just so I have more clearance here. That's really close to the edge there, and you don't need to do a full weld on the inside and the outside. Remember, we cut a nice groove on the outside, so that weld is very, very strong. And yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I put a little weld here and here and at the tips, and that's just to kind of smooth everything out. And then I hit it again with the sanding disc just to take any sharp edges off. It's nicer to touch. It's nicer. You're not going to cut your awning bag or your tarp or whatever you end up using for the material of the awning. Better to have this all nice and smoothed out, probably here too. So there you have it. The awning hinge is all done. We used the template. Super stoked. All right, you guys, thanks for watching that video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you figured out how easy it is now to make this hinge for your own awning. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who reached out and said, hey, make a template, because that pushed me to actually do it. And now it's available on my website, so you can print that out. I priced it really cheap. I just want it to be affordable for you guys. It's probably one of the cheapest parts you'll have to buy for the awning if you're making it. And I really appreciate everyone who's already ordered that. It's letting me put a little bit more money towards getting a new mic for the GoPro. And yeah, it just makes it fun. New projects will come along faster and I can keep sharing them. So I really appreciate all the support. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. All right, have a good day.